This is Jillian. This is my wonderful guest. We're camping, and JD Roth came to eat breakfast with us.
It was awesome.
It was more burnt pancakes than I have ever done in my life. I was a little nervous. The first, 5 batches were inedible. Inedible would be kind.
Because we're camping, it's a small griddle. I guess I'm not camping, but it's a small griddle, so it's like 5-6 pancakes at a time, right? So,
yeah.
and you have a whole brood to feed.
Oh my gosh. Those little monsters, they eat a lot.
I was surprised at how much they ate. That was impressive.
You were probably shocked at how many pancakes I was making initially.
Yes, I was like, wow, that is a lot.
And yet they decimated them.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so JD Roth runs Get Rich Slowly.
Yeah.
Oh look, he's wearing his t-shirt.
Actually, yeah.
Wearing his t-shirt.
I got syrup all over it from the pancakes, so.
So here's a little preview of our campsite here. We're hanging out in the forest, doing a little. That is our extra glamorous pop-up camper. This is the glamorous life. I think that's even a word, glamping. This cannot be considered glamping. This is the opposite of glamping. So JD and I, we're not sure what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about some stuff.
We can talk about whatever you'd like.
Where do you want to start?
Well, why are you on this trip, first of all?
Oh man, because my kids are little. Every age is so different and so special. And there's some things in life that have an expiration date. And putting 7 people in a pop-up camper and doing 10 national parks
right.
has
an expiration
an
So you're doing
date.
10 national parks on the trip.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. So we were talking, Jillian and I were talking. So my girlfriend and I, a couple of years ago, we did a similar trip. We bought an RV and we traveled around the country, and we went and saw all sorts of national parks too. It's fun. I love it.
It's crazy.
So coming
there's
out.
so much out there.
Yeah. And even this, this is about half an hour from my house.
Yeah.
And it's not a national park, just a state park, but I miss it. I miss being out here.
Yeah. So from your trip, what were some of the benefits? Because you were gone for 15 months?
15 months. We were gone for 15 months, yeah.
What do you feel like you gleaned from that experience?
Well, there was a lot. First of all, the travel, as I think you've discovered too, it wasn't as expensive as I thought. It was actually cheaper to travel than it was to not travel.
Yep.
And that was surprising. So for me and Kim, and we weren't being especially frugal, we figured it was about $100 a day for the two of us.
Yep.
And it could be done for much less. That didn't count the cost of the RV itself, but the actual trip. Do you have any idea how much it costs you guys to?
Man, yeah, it's about, I would say about $100 a day, maybe.
But you're doing 7 people instead of 2.
Yeah. Oh, no. We usually run about $500 a week.
Yeah.
If not excluding big things. Like this trip we did Disney. That 3 days was $1,000. But yeah, about $500 a week. We usually spend, especially if we're in a state park, you're at $30 a night. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we'll stay at military bases, which might be 15 or 20. If you go all crazy, you're spending $50 a night.
Wow. See, military bases weren't an option for us. It never even occurred to me that would be a thing.
Yep. And they're nice. They're like the $50 or $60 campgrounds, but for 20.
Nice. Excellent.
It's pretty sweet.
So another thing I learned is I don't need nearly as much stuff as I think I need.
Yeah.
Living for 15 months in an RV, it was a 29-foot RV, so I'm trying to do math real quick. It's less than 240 square feet. You're probably looking at about 200 square feet of living space and very little storage. And you think, what am I going to do with all this stuff that I have? And turns out you don't really need all that stuff. And by the end of the trip, we had a small closet, and I was purging stuff from that closet because I had brought too many clothes.
Yep. No, it's crazy. It redefines the line between want and need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes that a lot more clear. And then coming home is like,
Oh yeah.
it's like a culture shock. I just walk around my house and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is huge. Like, we need to get like 7 roommates. Like, we shouldn't use all of this space for just us.
Absolutely. And the same thing for us. After 15 months on the road, we got home and the place seemed so huge. Well, there were a couple things. It was culture shock, like you said. We were surprised. Everyone was just rushing everywhere. We're like, why are you in such a hurry? Everyone was just crazy. And we're like, wow. After 15 months on the road where the pace is just glacial.
Yeah.
But then the huge house too. I was telling you earlier, it actually prompted me to downsize. I went from a 1,800 square foot condo in a city. Really nice. I mean, it was a great spot.
Yeah.
We loved it.
Yeah.
But we realized it wasn't right for us. So we downsized to 1,200 square feet, just a ranch house. I call it my country cottage.
Yep.
And we have an acre of land. And so the animals can run free. And it's, yeah, it really kind of shifted my mindset and helped me see what my priorities were.
Yeah. I also find that I don't like there being so much friction to getting outside. Because when we lived in DC, we lived in a tower apartment and we were on the 8th floor. So to get outside, we had to go down all the way down the hallway, all the way down the elevator, all the way outside to just be outside. And after being outside 12 hours a day, I mean, we sleep in our pop-up, but we don't like hang out in there all day.
Oh.
We hang out in this
This is your living room right here. Yeah.
And our cooking area and everything. I don't want it to be so hard to get outside.
And that was a huge thing for us. Like when we moved back, we had been used to being able to just get outside and go out in nature. You couldn't do that in the condo. Again, there was you call it friction. I would call it like a barrier. There's just and it's just a little barrier, but that's enough.
Yep.
And so now, the new place, this was a really tough decision for us, but we just spent $50,000 to put on a back deck, to tear out the old back deck, put in a new back deck, and to put in a hot tub. And we've got this nice yard that it extends out into. It's wild and brambly and Oregon-y. It's like native plants. But now we're spending all of our time, almost every moment is out there. It gave us this outside space. And so $50,000 is a lot of money, but I'm hoping that we'll recoup it when we sell the house. And for now, it's just like this oasis.
Yeah. Now, finding those spaces that are easy to get to, and you're right, finding ways to make them more enjoyable year-round. So what were some other takeaways for people who maybe feel like it's not, like, it's fun, but maybe not a productive way to spend that much time? But I also run into a lot of people who are so burned out from their jobs and they're so overwhelmed that it's really just shut down any bandwidth they have, any creativity, any like even hope of life looking different. They're like, I just have to get my head down. I need to grind this out for 15 more years and then I can pull the plug and escape. Do you think that you got any kind of benefits that would help a person like that in that spot?
Yeah, absolutely. So my girlfriend is a dental hygienist. So she had to quit her job to go on the road. We quit the jobs. And I'd say for the first couple of weeks, we were just getting accustomed to being on the road. It was like, what is this like? And then about the time we got to Montana, so about 2 months into the trip, actually it was about 3 months into the trip. Holy moly. But eventually we got to this point where it's like we just started thinking about, what are the possibilities? What could we do? We weren't clinging to our old life anymore. And we'd gotten accustomed to being on the road. Now it's like, okay, we're doing this. This is our reality. Now, what do we want in the future? And so it really gave us time to think about that. And it helped me realize that I wanted to get back into blogging because at the time I was retired. And I was like, you know what? No, I really love it. This is it's like a calling for me, a passion. And so I started a new blog and then eventually ended up back at Get Rich Slowly. And then Kim got a chance to try some entrepreneurial stuff that she never had a chance to try before. And it didn't work out necessarily, but she was still glad to have tried it, and it's something that she can build on going forward.
And I find for some people, like just having that ability to kind of test it. And
Yeah.
to detox kind of from corporate structured life and just have a little bit more space to think. And then sometimes you're happy to go back. Like you go back to your job with a different appreciation and a different perspective.
And I think that's where Kim is. She's gone back to the dental hygiene, and she has a different appreciation for it.
Yeah.
She likes it. It is good for her.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, I mean, you write a lot about, or talk a lot about mini retirements, which is not something that I've explored very often, but I can see the value of it, because I think on a normal vacation is restorative and it's great, but you never really leave the mindset of, oh, I'm in the job and all that. But when you take a sabbatical, take 3, 6 months, 9 months, a year, you have a chance to decompress and be somebody else, and to think about who else you could be, I guess.
And it gives you, I know a lot of people who just don't have the bandwidth or the emotional energy to pursue something on top of their job.
Right.
Between their job and their relationships and their family and their house, they're just, even if they had the time, they might have technically an hour a day or 2 hours a day, they have nothing left to give during those 2 hours.
That's got to be used for recharging instead of,
Yep, and they're still so consumed with, our attention and our energy is finite.
Yeah.
And you give so much attention and energy to these other things that you really need to kind of step back and kind of unplug from that for a while before you're like, oh, I have attention to give to this new idea, or just to figuring out what they want to do. I think a lot of people don't leave their jobs because they just don't know what they would do next.
Yeah, this is something that I'm big on, is trying to get people to figure out what their purpose is. And it sounds all new agey and hokey, but I don't mean it in a new age hokey way. I just mean, what do you want out of life? What is it? If you could do anything, what would it be? Because a lot of us have ended up in our careers, it was a deliberate choice at one time, but it's become something more like that we're trapped in, you know? And there are ways to either alter that career so that it more reflects who you are today, or to choose a completely different career, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That transition is tricky though.
Yeah.
From like all in to your old job to figuring out what this new thing even would be.
Yeah.
And it's so tricky that I see a lot of people just not even try. They're like, that seems scary and intimidating, so I'll just stick it out for 10 more years. So I don't have to like venture into that unknown, scary part of life of what would I do? Would it be profitable? Would I be good at it? And I always try to encourage people like not to, sometimes there's this idea of like almost like building yourself up in a false confidence. Like, no, you'll be great at it. Like you're like, maybe I want to write a book, and you try to build yourself up. I would be a great author. I can do this. I'll find a publisher. When the reality is you don't know.
Right.
You don't know.
And you might mess up. And so not everything you try is going to work out.
No. And you don't know if you're good at something until you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I always encourage people, just take that first step. I talked to someone the other day, I was like, yeah, it'd be great to write a book about this. I was like, okay, well, don't start with that. First, start with write one blog post or write one story and email it to 10 of your friends. Yeah. Start with that. But sometimes we go and they're like, I'm going to go big or I'm going to go home and jump all in. Don't jump all in. Take one little step and see. And it's in the doing that you build that confidence of, oh, this is going pretty good.
And again, even if it doesn't work out, I think you learn so much from trying these things. You learn a lot about yourself. You don't just learn about the things that you're trying, but you also learn about who you are and what you want out of life.
What you're good at, what your skill set is, what you enjoy, what just comes easier to you than everyone else. And we always take that for granted. Well, we think, well, everyone likes that, or everyone's good at that. No, not everyone actually likes that.
For me, a lot of times that's writing. I'm like, oh yeah, you can just write an article for me, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell a friend, and they're like, no, I can't.
And then you read it and you're like, no, you actually can't. You were right.
Fortunately, I also do a lot of editing, so I can help.
Yeah, clean it up. No, it's, I think you just have to get going. And you build confidence and knowledge, and everything that I failed at, like failure is one of the best teachers.
Absolutely.
Because it helped direct the path.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped show me, oh, actually that's not my skill set. But this little part of it, I was actually really good at that. And you can do more of that.
Yeah.
But if you don't test it out, you never learn any of that.
That's right.
And if you're so consumed with the neurotic fear of failure, you don't pay attention. Like, stay curious and take notes. In the process, just learn. When I mentor people, I'm like, we have 2 goals. Growth, you need to learn. You need to grow your skill set, you need to learn what you like, you need to learn what you're good at, you need to learn about the industry. If you're learning and growing, that's a success. And you need to build relationships. And if you do those 2 things in whatever you try, that's a success. Whether the numbers metrically indicate success or failure, I don't care.
I love that.
We just need to figure out those 2 things.
Growth and relationships. I love it.
Yep.
Excellent.
Because then none of that is wasted. You haven't wasted your time. You haven't wasted your energy.
Right.
You're growing and building relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, JD has to go get a haircut.
Yeah, I gotta check it.
You gotta
Yeah,
get
okay.
a haircut. So
I gotta leave within the next 6 minutes.
6 minutes. So what are your parting thoughts for travel and mini retirements, or stepping away, or trying things? What are your nuggets?
I think my biggest piece of advice, and you've touched on this already, is if you feel like you might want to try something, do it. From my experience, we tend to regret the things we don't do more than the things we actually do. Sure, sometimes we make mistakes or we do dumb things and we regret those. But in general, I think people regret the things that they don't do. And so, if you think there's something that you might want to try, well, give it a shot. And again, you don't have to go all in, like you were saying. You can, just experiment, I guess.
I call it test and scale.
Test and scale.
You test
I like
it,
it.
You scale it.
Yeah.
You test it, you scale it. You pivot at every turn.
Using the RV stuff as an example, well, Kim and I went and bought the RV before we tested, but before we actually hit the road, though, we tested with a few weekends away, a few longer weekends away, and we're like, oh yeah, we could do this. This will work great.
Yeah.
And the same thing with writing, for example. You test by emailing friends, doing guest articles on other people's blogs or whatever, and then you're like, all right, yeah, I can do this, and take off after yourself. So if you think there's something you might want to do, try it. Give it a go.
Yeah. It's better than staying stuck for 15 years.
Yeah.
And then just regretting it.
Yeah.
Because I think every time we suffer without a good cause, those are wasted years. Every
They
year we
really
spend
are.
suffering.
I agree with you.
And then you look back at your life, and at the end, I want to be like, it was highs and lows and wins and losses, and it was adventure and it was chaos. JD was at the campsite this morning with all 5 kids. There was a lot of chaos.
There was some chaos.
A lot of chaos. And it's fun and it's crazy, but man, I did it.
Yeah.
I did all of it. I tried everything I wanted to try. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, but I sucked the marrow out of this thing.
I love it.
And then there's no regrets.
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
won't care. I won't care if not everything worked out perfect, but man, I jumped in.
That's awesome. Yeah, I in one of my exercises I give people is to try to create a personal mission statement.
Yeah.
And mine is I want to try everything the world has to offer,
Yep.
and then share what I learned with other people. So it's kind of what you're talking about, just sucking the marrow out.
Except eat seafood, because that's disgusting, and I'm not going to try it. So.
Well, this has been awesome.
Yes.
I appreciate the breakfast
Yes.
and the conversation.
Burnt pancakes and all.
Yeah.
Although my husband stepped up the game and did like the bacon
And the chorizo,
sausage
yeah.
and chorizo and eggs, and
Awesome.
he redeemed my pancake fiasco.
It was all good.
Okay. You all take care. I don't have a great closer. Don't even know where I'm going to put this, but we got it. We got it.
Awesome. Adios.